this is Reverend Don Lewis, and welcome to another week of Living the Wiccan Life. This week we bring you our interview with Zsuzsanna Budapest, founder of Dianic Wicca. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis, and I'm here with Zsuzsanna Budapest, and I don't even know where to begin. You have done so much and meant so much to so many people that it's kind of overwhelming for me to debate how to open an interview with you. On the way up here, there were people stopping you in the hallway to thank you for the role that you have played in their life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that many people seeing this are going to feel the same way.
Well, bless them.
And I want to start, I guess, by acknowledging the tremendous role that you have played in the pagan world, and that nothing is quite the same as it would have been without you, or was before you.
Yes.
And it's better.
It is better.
The mark of a truly great person is they leave things better than they found them.
Exactly.
And you have done that.
Thank you.
I want to make one more comment before I ask you anything.
All right.
And that is that as we were setting up, we were arranging this lovely background, the beautiful roses, and I was very struck by, and I remarked upon the fact that whenever I've had interactions with your tradition, everything has been beautiful.
Yes.
And it's unlike any other, because many traditions try to make everything beautiful, but there's just a difference. It's just so much more emotive and vibrant.
Yes.
And I think that really speaks to your connection to spirit.
And nature.
And nature.
It is where the spirit is.
It's true.
That's what it is. And the woman's touch. A woman's touch. We always require beauty, whatever we do.
Let me ask you, of the changes that you have created and the changes you have seen, what is most striking to you? What do you feel has been the greatest change in the community?
Good question. Let me just have a second on this one. It's sort of like suddenly I have 3 decades marching in front of me. Let me just go back to the 70s. First of all, I had no idea there was a pagan movement in the United States. I had no clue. I became a feminist in Los Angeles, and as I examined what we had already a good political analysis. That was excellent. We had a good historical background. All the suffragists were brought back again, the first wave, how we got the vote, 75 years, whole lifetime. How was that done? It seemed to be that bright women in 2s and 3s and 5s moved everything. So it really takes just a few people to move a thought form. And the thought form has its life, and then it goes out and does the rest. So that encouraged me, but I had still been just sitting in meetings. I learned about Robert's rules, boring. I was, we were very officious then in the Women's Center, and then the world was coming in through the door, women with 5 kids, we have to stay somewhere, we are running away, women bleeding, I need somebody to take me to the hospital. There was like terror visited on my sex daily, real terrorism, never discussed terrorism. Terrorism that we now talk about, few guys blowing up a few more guys and few cars, is nothing compared to the daily onslaught on women, daily slaughter of women. The male species is out of control. So I thought, why is that? Why is that? And one of the reasons I could see was that we're not reflected in the culture, we're not reflected in religion. Women are non-entities. So if we are non-entities, that means we're nobodies. So to kill us, to harm us, is okay, because we're not even people. And then, of course, 100 years ago, which I always go back to how it started, there was an actual intellectual discussion among learned guys, with professor and doctor in front of their names. Do women actually have souls? This was discussed as a serious matter, and it was used against women not to be enfranchised with the vote. And I thought, my mother is a witch. I know about Central European tradition, which had Dianic component. My mother only created goddesses. She made altars for peasants. In my country, every peasant house has a so-called good room or clean room that they only use on holidays, and that's where they put their holy pictures, the photographs of the ancestors, and they pray in front of it. They light little candles. They go into that instead of marching to the church. They have a church at home, which is pure paganism. And my mother was an altar builder. She was making these altars. So I mentioned this to my feminist sisters, and they said, no religion, please, no religion, because any kind of religion was oppressive to us. Religion is poison, it's opium to the masses, etc., etc. I said, this is not a religion, this is a spirituality. This is a different thing. And we have a background, we have mythology, we have moral laws about it. We have enough tradition to look at and say, hey, let's add to it. Let's bring it in, see what we don't need, put to it what we do need, and let's follow this path and bring back the goddess. So one day, I go to the Women's Center on Kreccia, and there is a triple goddess right over the mantelpiece, and that was the first time I brought with me a little purple candle, because even that, lighting a candle, was hard for feminists. I mean, they were like so scared of any kind of religion. So I thought, I dare. Now they know me about a year. I've been staffing on Mondays. I'm one of them, even though I'm a freaky Hungarian, you know. So I go there and I look at her. I said, oh, here's your candle. And I put the candle and lit it. And I consider that the beginning of women's spirituality movement. Nobody much talked about the goddess at all. Mm-hmm. I used to just hang out in bookstores, read everything by Jung, I read Kerényi, everybody, and those time spaces, and they were friends, they hung together. And started seeing, especially when I got to Jane Harrison, that women's mysteries was ignored mostly because the guys were into matriarchies, yes, but not the mysteries the real people did, the mothers and the grandmothers and the daughters who got together and did the bread and did the holiday decorations, woven the wreaths, dressed up nicely, marched this way or that way, you know, went to temples, burnt incense, or were solemnly sitting on the ground. All these were gone. And I started digging it up. As she dug up the past from the earth, I dug it up from her books. She was never a bestseller. She was a professor between the two wars. And she did it all as an intellectual exercise, but I did it as a religionist feminist. and started using what she found. And I found men's mysteries as well. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely no interest in men's mysteries. I published what I got in the Holy Book on the Sacred Sons. I always thought that it's not my job to bring it back, but it may be.
It may be?
It may be. I right now, you know, I'm 68, I sort of think to myself, it'd be nice. I have children, you know, I have sons, and what do we do with the nice men? With the nice men, we cannot push them away, you know, we're mummies. We can't
that's so important
push
to
them
say.
away. But who's going to teach them? It really should be some men who teach them, and didn't find any. It was a slow, but it really rested on my devotion. I said, I be there. I'm going to have circles in my apartment. The first time there was only the 6 friends from the Women's Center. Second time it tripled because the word went out that this was a great party. And that we didn't need to sleep afterwards, that this was a big fame that went out, that it was so good that people felt so filled up that we didn't need the sleep we usually did, you know, and how they were energetic for days afterwards, and they just had a few hours sleep and it was up again. So I thought they were touched, it was real, and now they're spreading the word. So it went really from my apartment into an empty parking lot on Whitley Hill, where there was a problem stepping into dog doo-doo. I said, no, this is not good enough. Then I went to the beach, and there we were disturbed by drunks sometimes, and the police who inquired what we are doing. We always pretended we had a birthday party. We sang happy birthday to somebody, the youngest one. I always picked a young one. And then one day when I made my living as a gardener, and we went up after a job, the mountain there in Malibu, and I found this gorgeous plant tunnel. Just 200 women easily accommodating. You know, hearing the splashing against the shores, twinkling lights of Santa Monica, mountains, wildlife. Malibu, filthy rich people with their little swimming pools over there. Drop, ocean. So I started taking them up there, and we actually grew up there on the so-called Old Covenstead for about 3 years. And then we got too confident. At one point there were like 16 Congo drums going, and there were like about 100 candles in jars. And the lights spilled over, and it's Malibu, and it's a fire hazard. So the police was called. 6 on the fire road came up 6 cars, shotguns, big shotguns, floodlights. Little Arthur looked pathetic with just the candles. And they rolled the kids usually into their sleeping bags around the altar, so all the women watched all the children at all times. There was no babysitting. We all did it. It was organic. Kids slept wonderfully next to the altar. So one of the police marches up. What's wrong with this child? You know. The kid goes scared. Woo, you know. I said, you woke her up. That's what's wrong. She was fine before you woke her up. Where are his parents? So mother steps forward. It's my kid. Put him down to go sleep better. And they looked for human sacrifice. They looked for anything that looks like blood. So then we had to get arrested. And that was like 38 of us getting a piece of paper. So there was one policewoman amongst them, and we all lined up for the policewoman. The policeman said, well, you can come here too. I said, we know. We just wanted to make a point that this is a women's event. They disturbed us, and there was one woman, we deal with her. So by the time, you know, the 10th, 15th woman got there, we started getting chatty. Gee, those are great boots. Where did you get those boots? Oh, I got them down the you know. Did you hear that? How much were they? Oh, really? Well, write this down. We're going to go there. And then just by the time she wrote up 38 thingies, the other guys left, and we left. Finally, she left in her car, and we had to go to court. Mm-hmm. 2 of us were lawyers there. Immediately we took pictures, and the charge was fire hazard. And it also turned out that the land itself that we were trespassing belonged to Iran. And this was the time the 44 hostages were there.
Oh my goodness.
So I said, I'm going to make a stink about this. Why would American women be not allowed to use this space where there was no sign that is like, you know, this is off limits? There was no signs whatsoever. It was wilderness. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't American women be in the wilderness safely with each other, with their kids, having a nighttime experience? So we went to court, and never came up because one of us, Helen, had a beard, nice blonde beard, and the police was totally riveted by this. And they yanked on it, and they talked to each other about it. And when we got to the court, which, by the way, the judge was sitting there in a T-shirt, and the sign says on the Malibu court, no barefoot. All it was is about Helen's beard. They wanted to know, is she taking hormones? Is she shaving? And it was totally sidetracked, and we got fined $1 each. And I said, we're not paying that. We're not paying any fine because we were not heard. We have a case. And then they just dismissed it. And that was the famous Malibu 38. There's a lot more to this story, but I just gave you the shortened version.
I hope that you enjoyed part 1 of our interview with Zsuzsanna Budapest, and that you'll join us again in part 2 of our episode as we continue our conversation. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis, and I'm very pleased to announce the publication in paperback of Witch School's Lessons for the First Degree, Available now for pre-order from witchschool.com and coming soon to a bookstore near you, together with lessons for the second degree and lessons for the third degree.